here's an interesting thought for tonight. As Elias Pettersson, he got himself 2 points in the World Juniors game today, that's all good. And a few of my Canucks friends and we started talking about Elias Pettersson and the draft, and the 2017 draft. And something that came up that I actually wanted to talk about and explain a little bit on the YouTube channel, because I feel it's actually really legitimately important, is why Jim Benning didn't trade the 5th overall pick, and he didn't trade down. So, to start things off, I want to present to you with the draft itself, okay? These are the picks. I'm highlighting the top 8 picks because these are the most important picks that we'll be discussing today. And I'll tell you why. So 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, those are placeholders. We all know that these picks, they were there. And 5th. 5th overall, this is where we had our own pick. This was the Vancouver Canucks pick. And going down to the last pick in this selection, in this image of picks, 8th overall, the Buffalo Sabres. 8th overall is originally where Jim Benning wanted to trade down to. He wanted to trade down 3 spots over to Buffalo, so we would have been picking at 8th overall. Now, that's just one of the things that we have to keep in mind about this whole scenario. There are a few things. First off, we know Benning wanted to trade down to 8th, and Buffalo's GM, they were interested in moving up to 5th. That is a guarantee. Another thing that we should know is who these GMs wanted to take. Now, the NHL Draft has a really detailed and specific framework of how do things work behind the scenes and what the teams actually want. So, going into this draft, the Vancouver Canucks weren't thinking at all about Heiskanen or Makar. They weren't thinking about these guys because they knew for a fact that Dallas and Colorado were going to take these players. Elias Pettersson was the Vancouver Canucks' goal. We wanted Pettersson, and Jim Benning, he made it very obvious in a lot of videos and interviews that Pettersson was the guy that we were going to take. And if you take this fact, the fact that the Canucks wanted Pettersson, Avalanche wanted Makar, Stars wanted Heiskanen, Devils Hischier, and Flyers with Patrick, it doesn't change if you go down the list. The Golden Knights, they wanted Cody Glass. And the Arizona Coyotes, well, they didn't really want anything, which is why they traded that pick to New York, but we'll get to that pick a little bit later. Buffalo, it is my belief that Buffalo originally wanted maybe like a Cody Glass kind of player, seeing that they wanted to move up 3 spots in order to overtake Vegas. But one thing that is for certain is that Buffalo did not want to take Elias Pettersson, nor did the Vegas Golden Knights, nor did the Arizona Coyotes. And here's why. Jim Benning knows. He knows who these teams wanted to take. All the GMs, they talk. They talk on the draft floor. They have conversations on the phone, little short chit-chats by themselves. They know which players they're interested in. And Jim Benning, he knew for a fact that the Golden Knights, the Coyotes, and the Sabres, they did not want Pettersson. However, Buffalo wanted to move up to Vancouver's spot, most likely to take Cody Glass, or maybe even Elias Anderson kind of player. I really think they wanted Cody Glass instead, but Buffalo wanted to move up. Vancouver was okay with moving down, because Benning knew for certain New Jersey, Philly, Dallas, Colorado, Buffalo, Vegas, and Arizona, they would not have taken Pettersson. Benning has stressed it a lot throughout the draft, and he made it really obvious that Pettersson was the guy we were going to draft in this draft no matter what. So, why didn't this go down? Well, it didn't go down because right after the draft started, the Arizona Coyotes' 7th overall pick went to the New York Rangers as a result of a trade that sent Derek Stepan and Ronta to Arizona in exchange for Anthony DeAngelo as well as the pick. Oh, it's not Arizona anymore picking 7th, it's New York. What does that mean? Well, it means that Benning's entire plan to trade down has been foiled. And I don't know if it's going to happen anymore, because Benning wanted to trade down to 8th. The 8th overall pick. This is Buffalo's pick. But the pick that the Rangers got, it was the 7th pick. So it was a pick before that. Benning knew that the top 8 teams other than Vancouver didn't want to pick Elias Pettersson, but he knew that for the Arizona Coyotes. He didn't know that about the Rangers. So, after asking around a little bit, after a little bit more chit-chat between the GMs, Benning eventually found out that the New York Rangers wanted a Swede. And that in itself was enough for Benning to say, sorry Buffalo, we're not trading down because New York wants a Swede. And if New York wants a Swede and they're picking a pick before us, the chances that they take an available Elias Pettersson at 7th overall, those chances are very high. And we want Pettersson. We'd be okay with any of these players, but we want Pettersson. Pettersson is our guy in this draft. So, basically, to sum everything up, the Vancouver Canucks were originally going to trade down to 8th, with the standard New Jersey, Philly, Dallas, Colorado, Vancouver, Vegas, Arizona, Buffalo set of draft picks. With the original set of picks, Vancouver was going to trade down to 8th. But once the Arizona Coyotes traded their 7th overall pick, which was ahead of the Buffalo Sabres' 8th overall pick, to New York, and once New York basically told all the other GMs, hey, we're going to take a Swede, that's enough to have made Benning say, yo, we're not going to trade down anymore, we're not going to do that. So that's why Benning didn't trade down the 5th overall pick, even though he knew that other teams were not going to take Pettersson, because New York was the wild card. Had New York not traded up to Arizona and grabbed their pick, Vancouver probably would have gone down to 8th overall and drafted Pettersson at that spot, because Benning wanted to make sure that with this draft, we took Pettersson. Another thing to note is, oh, well, if they couldn't go down to 8th, why didn't the Canucks just go down to 6th, or maybe even 7th? Well, they couldn't have gone down to 7th because the Coyotes already made that trade with the Rangers, and the Rangers wouldn't have given up a pick that they just got. Okay, that doesn't make sense. Why didn't the Canucks trade down to the Vegas Golden Knights' 6th overall pick? Well, that would be very dumb if the Golden Knights agreed to that. Because Vancouver, Benning knew. He knew that the Golden Knights weren't going to take Elias Pettersson. Okay, that's great. They wanted Cody Glass. But it's not like the Golden Knights didn't know what we wanted. The Golden Knights wouldn't have traded up one spot if they knew that the player they would have gotten at 5th would have still been available at the 6th overall position. They knew that Vancouver wasn't going to take Cody Glass. So, they had no reason to trade up. New York, on the other hand, they grabbed the pick instantly right after the draft started, so we could have ruled everything out that said that we would have been able to trade for New York's pick. Because if we traded for New York's 7th overall pick and had them move up to 5th, then they would have just taken Pettersson instead. And that's no good for Benning. So 8th was the real deal in this one, because it is my speculation that Buffalo wanted Cody Glass, because if they wanted Cody Glass, then they would have just traded up to 5th to take Glass before the Golden Knights could have. And the Canucks could have ended up with Pettersson at 8th overall, had the Rangers not traded up to 7th. Because if we traded that pick down to Buffalo for 8th, the Rangers most likely would have taken Elias Pettersson. And that is no good in Jim Benning's eyes. He wanted Pettersson, Pettersson was our guy that draft, and he succeeded. And what did he do? Well, he didn't really do anything, he just stayed with the pick. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Benning did not trade the 5th overall pick down in the 2017 NHL Entry Draft. I hope this makes sense. I hope a lot of you guys were following that, because it could be a little bit complicated, I'm not too sure. Hope you guys enjoyed this video anyways. Twitter plus links for download your trolls like Gaming, and bye.